Okay? Type 2 diabetes is not something that you are born with. It's not something that you cannot do anything about. It is something that is a consequence of the way you're eating and the way you're living. And it's not your fault, okay? The odds are stacked against you. All of the food accessible today is making our health worse and increasing this diabetes number worldwide. I'm going to give you information that's going to help you actually be able to navigate this complicated landscape. And how do we know that type 2 diabetes is not genetic? We have a few different proofs. First of all, type 2 diabetes used to be called adult onset diabetes. It was called that way because only adults would get it. Well, today, 5-year-old children are getting this condition when that was not the case at all. And our genes have not changed so much. What has changed is what we're eating and the food environment. So that's clue number 1. Clue number 2, we know from scientific studies that identical twins, so people who have the exact same DNA to the letter, well, if one twin has type 2 diabetes, the other twin might not necessarily have it. It's not like both twins always have it or both twins always don't have it. It is due to other factors. So that's another really important clue, that one identical twin can have type 2 diabetes and the other one cannot have it. That means it is not 100% genetic. And finally, and I think for me, the most compelling piece of evidence is that hundreds of studies have shown us that if we change the way that we eat, we can put our type 2 diabetes into remission. Now, this is the key. If you've been diagnosed with diabetes, your only option is not to take medication for the rest of your life. If you're willing and if you're able to change how you're eating, you can put this condition into remission. Now, I know that for a lot of people, it's really hard to fathom changing how we're eating and our food habits, and it seems like something that is way too complicated and out of reach, but don't worry, the stuff I'm going to share with you today is actually simple, and you'll be able to do it. It's not a complicated diet, it's not super restrictive, it doesn't ask you to buy $35 smoothies. We're here for practical, easy tips. But first, before we get into all of the ways to solve it, I want to give you guys a little biology recap, biology 101, on what is insulin resistance and what is type 2 diabetes. The most important thing to remember that I think probably you might not know yet is that insulin resistance is a spectrum. And so we can measure how insulin resistant anybody is at any moment. You can measure me, you can measure yourself, you can measure your mom, your sister, your friend, your colleague. You can measure insulin resistance at any given moment. When you're not insulin resistant, you're called healthy. When you get more insulin resistant, you're called pre-diabetic. And when you get really insulin resistant, then you're called type 2 diabetic. Then you have type 2 diabetes. So insulin resistance and its spectrum is what underpins whether or not you have a diagnosis like prediabetes or type 2 diabetes. So if you've been diagnosed with insulin resistance, well, that means that you're somewhere in that spectrum. Maybe you're getting a little bit close to prediabetes. So insulin resistance moves. You can become more or less insulin resistant depending on how you're living. And the objective is going to be to become less of it. So let's back up even more. What the heck is insulin? Why do we care? What is this insulin resistance thing? Okay, so first things first. Before we talk about insulin, we have to talk about glucose. Don't worry, it's going to be easy. Glucose is your body's favorite source of energy. Okay, every single part of your body, like my fingers that I'm moving right now, my mouth that I'm using to speak to you, your brain as you're listening to me, they're all burning glucose for energy. It's the most important fuel in your body. And the way that you give glucose to your body so that you can have energy is by eating foods. Specifically, by eating 2 types of foods. By eating starches, so that's bread, pasta, rice, potatoes, oats, and by eating sugars. By sugars, I mean anything that tastes sweet, from an apple to a slice of chocolate cake. So when we eat these starches or these sugars, and they go into our mouth, they then break down into glucose because they contain glucose. So when you eat starches or sugars, they're going to increase your glucose levels in your body. And after